Hello boys and girls, welcome to the next episode of the Rustyscale show. The last episode was all about preparing the Bf-110 for the paint job. We did the priming, the marbling with the airbrush stencil and the pre-shading of course. And now in this video it's finally time that we do the paint job. Now for the model kit of the Bf-110 there are very interesting color schemes. And the version I did includes a splinter camo from the bird's eye view from top and a mottling camo alongside the fuselage from the side view. Now as I mentioned in the first video, there are 12 different versions including in this limited edition. So I already have a hard time choosing between 2 or 3 versions that are coming with a kit. And usually, I try to make my decision based on how cool are the decals. But in this case it was a bit different because all the decal versions were very cool. Now it was almost impossible for me to make a decision. Now what helped me is trying to bring in another point of view, like a historical point of view. I'm going to show you this booklet here. So you see I'm not fooling, okay? I'm not fooling you. I'm not fooling around. Okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, number 12. So what helped me to take a decision is that I was thinking that the Bf-110 was a zerstörer, a so-called zerstörer, a destroyer, a fighter bomber. And in my eyes, that is one of the main failures of the Luftwaffe. There were several, major false decisions, wrong decisions during the war from the Wehrmacht and the Luftwaffe. Thank God. So some people of the Wehrmacht or the Luftwaffe especially had this vision of a zerstörer, a twin-engine fighter bomber. And it was a misconception in itself because fighter bomber, that is a contradiction already. It's not a fighter and it's not a bomber. So it's not as maneuverable as a fighter and not as fast as a fighter. And it can also not go the long distance of a bomber and carry the same load as a bomber. So it's something in between. And that is a misconception in itself because if you send a zerstörer as an escort for a Luftflotte bomber and they get attacked by fighters, the zerstörer will get outmaneuvered and they will get shot down most probably. On the other hand, if you want to attack a bomber squadron with the zerstörer, with the fighter bomber, most probably the bomber squadron has an escort of fighter aircrafts. So how come, then again, okay, you can shoot down the bombers, but before you can do that, most probably you will get shot down by the fighters. So it is a misconception. And they were producing, the Luftwaffe hardly even produced long-range heavy bombers. They produced these fighter bombers in very high amounts. And that was the problem. They can be useful, they can be successful. For instance, as night fighters equipped with the advanced radar system that the Germans had. But as a bomber escort or any other attacking operation, it's just not, it makes no sense, it does not add up. And that helped me in my decision because the one that I've picked out is the one with the additional fuel tank, the Dackelbauch. That's the Dackelbauch, the dachshund belly. And it was an additional fuel tank under the fuselage, and it was like the long range version of the Bf-110D. And that itself shows you the failure. You try to make this aircraft become something that it's not. So behind the decision of choosing this version with the dachshund belly, that is really like a historical. I want to point out something in the history, and in the nature and in the nature of this aircraft, the Bf-110, or just in the nature of the fighter bomber itself. So enough of the talking, let's crack on with the video. We want to see some painting, and we will also see some chipping, because I started the weathering process already in this video, and we will finish it in the next episode. And you can also witness how baby Rustyscale number 1, one of my daughters, raided my hobby room again and did her best trying to break my concentration while I was doing some fine chipping on a 172 scale model. So it's time for some action, but before we take off, fasten your seatbelts, please. Okay, so this is where we left off in the last episode, the horizontal stabilizer, which was already painted with the RLM 65 Hellblau. Now here you see the complete undercarriage side. Here is the model already masked for the color on top, the RLM 02 gray, which is more like a brownish. It's a brownish gray. It has a lot of brown in it, but it's still some kind of gray. I really love the color. I think it's a fascinating tone. Now I'm starting the first round of the main color on top, and what I'm doing here is highly thinned. The paint is really highly thinned. I'm only doing kind of a mist. I'm just laying a mist over the complete model, okay? I'm not already staying within the panel lines. I'm just doing in general a covering, and now with the second round I'm staying within the panels and try to achieve the pre-shading. So I'm really trying to preserve the marbling and the pre-shading a lot, because usually when the paint dries, it covers more than it actually looks like while you're painting and the paint is still wet. The pre-shading is quite heavy, and here the paint has dried. It's a bit less visible, and I already masked it for the splinter camo. Now the part at the end of the right wing I had to do in 2 steps. It was a bit tricky to do that in 1 step, the masking. Of course it can be done, but to me it was too complicated. Now I had a decision to make. Now the RLM 71, that was the one from Revell. This is the one from Vallejo. You see the difference in the color tone. It's a really big difference. Now RLM 02, the first paint, is a bit brownish, so I didn't want to use the RLM 71 that looks more brown than green. So I went with the green one, the RLM 71 enamel colors. I really like enamel colors. The only thing is the smell, and you know, sometimes I have the children nearby when I'm painting, so I can't really use it that much. That's actually the Revell enamel thinner, to really have that enamel paint keep it fluid, because of the evaporation it will get thick after some time. Here I'm doing some mottling. It's the first time that I did some mottling. Now on the wings we have the splinter camo alongside the fuselage. On this version there is a mottling camo. Yeah, it was a bit difficult because my Neo has a needle of 0.3.5 millimeters. It's quite big. Now this was not a needle extension that you saw there. It was some paint on top of the needle. Okay, that's the paint job already done, but to keep the tension a bit high, I will only show that in the end of the video. So now I already started with the weathering. Decals are already applied, and I started with the weathering by doing some chippings. Ja, jetzt hast du mich verschreckt. Ja? Nein, die sind von mir. Wenn es geht.
Wo hast du zum Kamera? Papa?
Ich bin da am Filmen. Dann kann ich ein Video machen und die Leute nerven damit.
Nerven?
Hä?
Nerven?
Ja, mit meinen Videos. Einfach. Das macht doch Spaß, die Leute nerven. Mach doch du am selber was.
Ja. Ich will ins Glas ausleeren.
Zum Beispiel, genau.
Und du bist frei.
Nein, du musst mich nicht drehen. Weißt du, ich sollte hier möglichst ruhig arbeiten können. Now, you may already know the procedure here. First, I did a sponge chipping with the dark brown, and now I'm using the brush with the aluminium or silver and just go over the dark chippings, but stay inside the chippings, so don't overpaint what you did with the dark color before. So you will have a small dark line around your silver or aluminium chipping, and it will make the effect much more real and have a like a 3D effect a bit. It's time consuming and you need patience and a steady hand. But brush chipping, I think it's the way to go. It needs a bit practice, and I'm still practicing as well. Oh.
Was? Ist hier verbrannt?
Nein, die Landeklappe geht fast ab. Ja, das ist ganz so lange, den habe ich gestern gekauft im Hobby.
Im Style? Im Style?
Nein, im Hobby.
Im Style?
Was heißt im Style? So you heard, that's what I have to deal with when I'm really trying to concentrate and do some fine chipping with my brush. Then my daughter asks me this kind of questions. Here I'm assembling the propellers, the already painted and finished propellers. Decals are on. Das sind ja meine Pipetten. Hä? I'm still trying to figure out in which position I want my propeller to be fixed. I think I got it. I think I got it. Dry fit the propeller caps. I really love the look of them. Those white caps looking sharp. It won't go off. Hey, come on, buddy. So this is the landing gear side. You can see some parts I used filters around the air intake. I used some filter to already, like pre-weather this a bit, these areas. I really loved how that RLM 65 turned out. One of my favorite colors in general. Here on top, really looking sharp. Really looking sharp. And she wants to destroy this. Hit it with a hammer. That's how it goes. Now a quick word to the Revell Contacta liquid with a brush applier. Now for painted parts, I really prefer this to the ultra very extra thin cement, because you can only apply the glue exactly at the parts which should be bonded together, which should be glued together, and you will not hurt and damage any of your paint job, because that glue is more thick. It's not that liquid. It will stay on the place. Okay, freeze it here. Now we can have a look also at the mottling alongside the fuselage. Decals are already applied. I didn't bother to record that. I'll try to do it with the next build, and then some more weathering will come. A lot more weathering will follow. So the next episode will be about, you know, finish the weathering, do all the weathering steps, finish it off, and then show off with the finished model. And so make sure you don't miss the next episode. And to do this, best would be you subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell, so you'll get a notification when the new episode goes online, and that will be the third and last episode about the Bf-110 build. So make sure you don't miss it. Leave a comment in the comment section if I did any mistakes or I was talking rubbish all the time. Stay safe and see you in the next episode. Bye bye. By the way, my name is Chris Weyer, and I'm glad to be back on YouTube scale modeling channel number 150,723. Yeah, 23.